Oh, a very good evening to all of you. This is the Surviving to Thriving Challenge. We're so excited that you are joining us for day two. If you were here yesterday, just go to the chat and type for me day one, just so we know you were here yesterday. Just type for me day one. I know it's still early and we're just other people are not here yet, but you're here, we are here, we're ready to go. We'll go ahead and get started. So as we get started today, I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for making the time to invest in yourself. I see you, Enid. Thanks for being here yesterday. So excited that you were here. Maureen, thanks for being here yesterday. This is so nice. It's so nice when we prepare something and you show up and you come and you come early. I'm especially happy about people who come early and you're able to join us and be here as we do this. So as we get started today, I have a question for you, and it's the $1 million question. The $1 million question. Have you ever had the $1 million question?
To get $1 million when you
So today, as we get started, we're going to start out with the $1 million question. But before I tell you what the $1 million question is, I want you to unmute yourself and say hello. Say hello to us. We're here. We're ready to go, but we want to hear from you. Just say hi.
Hello.
Say hello.
Hello.
Hi. Hello, how are you?
Hi. Hello,
Yes.
the Musalos. Miriam, you
Yes.
rock.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. I don't think you are ready for the $1 million question because you didn't sound too excited when I told you about it. So I think I'm going to pass on telling you the $1 million question. I'll just go on with my notes. But if you want me to tell you what the $1 million question is, then just type in the chat. If I see people typing million in the chat, I'll tell you what the $1 million question is. If I see people typing million in the chat, I'll tell you what the $1 million question is. Yeah. Some people want to know what the $1 million question is.
They're all putting millions
Okay.
in the chat.
All right. Okay. Okay, now get ready. So this is the $1 million question, and this is how it goes. After I ask the question, each of you is going to get a chance to respond to this question. And the way we will do it is you will type your response in the chat, but you will wait. Don't send until I say send. So we all send at the same time. We don't want people to copy your answers, okay? So we all type in the chat and then we'll send at the same time. So here is a $1 million question. The $1 million question is this. If you were handed $1 million today, if you were handed $1 million today, can you imagine $1 million? What's the first thing that you would do with it? What's the first thing you would do with it? Yes. So now I want you to go and type in the chat. Don't send. Please don't send yet until I say send. So now everyone is typing in the chat. If you were handed $1 million today, Miriam comes and says, here, $1 million. What's the first thing that you would do with it? What's the first thing you would do with it? I know there are all kinds of other things, but the first thing you would do with it. So everyone is typing in the chat. If you're joining us, you're very welcome. We're responding to the $1 million question. If you were handed $1 million today, what's the first thing that you would do with it? What's the first thing that you would do with $1 million? Okay. Are you ready with your response? I'm going to count to 3, and when I say 3, I want you to all submit your responses. I'm just curious to know what people are going to say, Miriam, because $1 million is a lot of money. It's about 3.7 billion shillings.
I want to see their
Yes.
responses.
Okay. I think by now you're ready. Everyone, 1, 2, 3. Let's all submit our responses now. What's the first thing that you would do with it?
I think Miriam is being very honest, my namesake. She says type should be the right answer, but I think I'll take a long vacation.
So I want you to go through the chat, and if you see a response that you find intriguing, I want you to ask that person to, can you please tell us a little bit more about this one? Okay, just go through the chat and see if there's one you find that is really extraordinary, and you just unmute and ask them to tell us a little bit more about it.
A lot of people are typing.
I see a lot of type.
I tell you.
Yeah.
You know, I think the church would be happy with the participants. They are on point. Keep it in a bank after time.
And seek financial advice. Bonds. Catherine, type then build a school in the village. Catherine, tell us a little bit more about this. Tell us a little bit more about your choice to build a school in the village. Maybe she can't hear us.
Because the village, they are disadvantaged. Our people are disadvantaged.
Yeah, okay. Wow. That's very good. That's very good.
That's good, yeah.
Wow.
Let's see some more answers.
I'm intrigued by Miriam, take a long vacation. Take a long vacation.
Hi.
Yes, Miriam.
Yeah, so I chose, sorry, I have a bit of cough and flu. I chose the long vacation because life is all about work, and hardly do we ever like get a time to rest. And when we do get time to rest, not everyone can afford it. Yeah, so for like no one can afford a very luxurious getaway. So that's why I chose that, because now I'll have the time and I'll be able to afford it, because we all work to get money. So if you have money, then you don't have to work. So I'll have the money and I can afford the vacation. That's why.
Okay. All right. It's time for us to transition, and as we get ready to go into the rest of our session, I want to thank you, Maureen. Maureen, thanks for being so honest and sharing what you would do. If you're joining us, you have come to the Surviving to Thriving Challenge Day 2. And as we get started, I'm going to just be sharing with us a video for you to see what we do at J&M Musali. Miriam and I are the co-founders of J&M Musali, and we're the ones who are putting this challenge on for you. So let's watch this video. I'll give you an idea what J&M Musali is about, and then we will dive into the rest of our session.
Do not let your learning lead to knowledge. Let your learning lead to action.
The games that you have had fused together with the message has made it
a wonderful experience.
At J&M Musali, we do everything we do with a leadership bias. We believe that every one of us was made to be a leader, to be a person of influence. But you can't influence others until you can lead yourself. So we start from this premise, helping the individual to take responsibility for themselves.
Together, everyone achieves more.
And as they do that, they are better able to influence others.
Back. River. Back. Back.
The session was really amazing.
I like what Miriam was saying around what is the power of ambition. It starts with you.
please work to the best of your ability.
You must be committed. First to yourself, then to the organization.
Envisioning something that you're not sure how it will work, but you know where you're coming from and where you're going.
You just told us, it's not about the knowledge, right? You have acquired the knowledge, but what do you want to do with the knowledge?
The focus on the person examining themselves.
If we can learn to do things by ourselves, then we'll be able to give this country our very best.
As an individual, when you grow, whatever knowledge you get is going to affect your work positively.
It's really transformed me in so many ways. It's been engaging.
Everybody is important.
At all times, you should have an opinion, an independent opinion. Change happens everywhere. And our best enemy is average. But at J&M, we believe the non-negotiable requirement for change is attitude. The attitude you have when you come to work is a matter of life and death. There's no luxury in it. You have a mission. You have a vision. You're here to accomplish something great. Carry that same passion to your work.
We limit ourselves when we believe that communication is only verbal. Communication.
Our affiliation with the Maxwell Leadership Team, developed by John C. Maxwell, gives us access to world-class resources. It's our privilege to take and custom design solutions for each of our clients where they are. And that's what makes us different. That's what makes us unique.
We brought out the passion in our staff. We in part attribute that kind of atmosphere that we've managed to create and work ethic to the trainings that we've gotten from Jack. If you're a leader of business, you're a leader of HR, and you're looking to take your team to the next level, you know we're as good as our people. You need people who are good at motivating people, and Jack can help with that.
So we are good together. So it's not just a hashtag for it. I would also like to request you to join me in appreciating the work that J&M Musali have done.
Yes. Welcome to all of you. Thank you for joining us. If you're with us for the first time, this is the Surviving to Thriving Challenge, and this is day 2. Day 2, we began the challenge yesterday. And yesterday on day 1, we were talking about the mindset that you need to survive first, but to go beyond just survival to thriving. And yesterday we learned that sometimes you're in a situation which is a life and death situation. If you find yourself in a place like that, whether it's something to do with your physical health, or it's got to do with your finances, or it's something in another area like your relationships, if you're struggling to survive, the first priority is you've got to survive. You have to stay alive. But most people are not that place. Most people are not struggling to survive. Most of us have just got stuck into a survival mindset, and you just keep in a holding pattern that stops you from actually living. And that's what we were addressing yesterday. And we said yesterday that you have to break that pattern and start to see how can you do things that will make you thrive. Yesterday, we shared with you 3 stories. Marsha, Edward, and Miriam shared with you stories of confronting the hardest time in their life, hitting rock bottom, finding themselves in a situation that was life-threatening, losing a husband, losing the love of her life, and not knowing if they could ever make it out of there. And they shared with you how they made it out of there. Today, as we get into day 2, I just want to share with you just a quick thought. When I was younger, we used to have this situation happen on the playing field quite a bit. If one of the boys was wanting to flex their muscles, they would draw a line in the sand, and they would say, if you think you're a man, cross that line. And I remember a lot of fights were started at the line. Because the other guy on the other end, if he was foolish enough to cross the line, would go across the line, and then the punches would start flying, and everyone would make a circle around and cheer so that no one interrupts the show until the teachers came and broke it all up. So today is a day for you to draw a line in the sand. And drawing a line in the sand is you saying, I'm making a choice. And yesterday we shared with you about surviving to thriving, and the 3 areas. We shared with you about your relationships. We shared with you about finances, about wealth, and also about health. Today we want you to draw a line in the sand and say, this is the day I'm going to cross from surviving into thriving. Yeah. And the questions I want you to think about, and we'll come back to these questions before we close. The first question is, what are you choosing? What are you choosing? Yesterday, we learned that there are choices that you're making, and those choices are going to make you. So what are you choosing? The second question I want you to be thinking about today is, what are you doing? Yesterday, we said if you don't take action, nothing's going to happen. So what are you doing? So the first one, what are you choosing? The second one, what are you doing? And the third one, who are you becoming? Who are you becoming? Who are you becoming as you do the things that you are doing, as you remain in the pattern that you're remaining in? Okay, so this is the questions I'm going to have you consider. And I'm excited because now we're going to get into today's session. If you joined us a little bit later, we were discussing the $1 million question. And if you don't know what that is, it's the question, what would you do if you were given $1 million? What's the very first thing you would do if you were given $1 million right now? And it was interesting to see the responses. A lot of people were giving tithe before they do anything else. Some people are into bonds. There was a vacation. Some people went straight to the bank to keep it safe before they can seek some financial advice. Other people were not sure what they were going to do with their $1 million, so they didn't respond. But we're here to talk about wealth. And today I am so excited to introduce to you Miriam Musali, who is going to be leading this discussion and this conversation. Now, for those of you who do not know who Miriam is, you're in for a special treat today because you have come to the right place. And I know I'm biased, but I happen to be sitting right next to the most beautiful woman in the whole Wow.
Richard said no.
Richard is not going to agree with me for some reasons, and
it's
he's
good
entitled to his
muted.
own opinion.
It's good he's
and it's a very
muted.
good thing he's muted right now. Oh, this is going to be exciting. So Miriam right now serves as the Director for Legal and Border Affairs at the Capital Markets Authority in Uganda, the CMA. She is a lawyer by profession. She trained at the Makerere University and then went and did her master's degree, first class, from Cambridge University. I have to say first class, so you know she's real. She's a real lawyer. She's passionate. This lady next to me is passionate about investing in people's lives and about bringing transformation. Together, we co-founded J&M Musali Limited. J and M, get it? Jack Amir Musali Limited, and this is a company that through which we serve. We do leadership training. We do governance training. You saw that video. We do team building for organizations. We do coaching. Both of us are Maxwell Leadership Certified coaches, speakers, and trainers. Miriam is a accredited fellow of MEFME, the Macroeconomic Financial Management. Okay, she's now getting uncomfortable. I was waiting for her to get a bit uncomfortable.
That's it.
Miriam's my best friend. She's the mother of our children. And today she's going to be leading this discussion, and she will introduce the rest of our guests today. You're in for a special treat. Welcome with me, Miriam.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jack. And it's wonderful to see all of you online. Thank you for making time to be with us today. A very special welcome to our speakers, Richard and Shifa Wood. You're very welcome. Good to see you out there. And Kevin Dantu, good to see you. I'll just introduce our panelists briefly. So Shifa and Richard Wood met in 1998. They've been married for 23 years.
Wow.
23 years.
23.
Yeah.
They don't look it at all.
Not at all. They've lived in a number of African countries, including Uganda, and they're now settled in the United Kingdom. Richard Wood was formerly a partner at PwC. He holds a degree in chemistry, as well as a master's in accounting.
Intriguing.
Yes,
Chemistry
and accounting, very interesting. And he is also a Cambridge alumni, so I'm very pleased
Cambridge,
to have
Cambridge here.
Yeah, Kevin, I saw that. I did see that, Kevin. we can see you, Kevin. We can see you. So Richard is an advisor to businesses. He's also an investor. He volunteers at his church. He's a father of 3 young men, and he is married to Shifa Wood. Shifa Wood is a wife to Richard. Shifa is an interior designer. Don't we know that?
Yes.
Yes, don't we know that? She's done a great job. She's a real estate entrepreneur.
Very
legitimate. And she spent most of her early years raising her boys and traveling with her family, supporting Richard, who was working with PwC in different countries. Shifa is a professional children and adult psychotherapist, as well as a counselor. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome with me, Richard and Shifa Wood. Please put some emojis in the chat. Welcome them. They have given you their evening. So I'd also like to welcome our friend Kevin Dantu. Kevin is the head of clients at Perpetua Investment Managers in Cape Town, South Africa. He joined the firm in January 2020. Kevin is responsible for business development as well as client relationship management. Kevin has more than 20 years of experience in the investment industry, and he has over 30 years of experience in financial services. So before he joined Perpetua, he worked at Franklin Templeton Investment in South Africa And he spent a lot of years in sub-Saharan Africa doing regional sales for Franklin Templeton. Prior to this, he worked in asset management in different firms. Kevin holds a BCom degree and he majored in economics and finance. So we do have an amazing panel tonight and we are very excited that they'll take the time to come.
Welcome, Kevin.
Yes,
welcome. Kevin.
You're very welcome. So we're going to dive straight in. We will start with Richard and Schiffer. I'd like you to just, one of you can go first and then the other. I'd like you to tell us more about yourselves, especially in relation to real estate investments. What prompted you to go into this? And was it worth it for you to go into real estate?
Wow. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody here. Really great to be able to speak to you in Kampala, I guess, largely, but we're speaking to you from a cold and wet UK, hence the reason why we're up in our woolen jumpers and everything else like that. But we wish we were back in Kampala at sort of nights like this. And anyway. So without further ado, just want to give you a little bit of background about ourselves, just because this sort of sets the frame for, well, basically everything that we've done over the last decade or so that we've been involved in real estate development. As you kindly said, Miriam, when I was in my early stage of career, I was with PwC as an advisory partner. And the way that I was operating, we were based, as you said, some of the time in Uganda, but also spent time in Nigeria and also in Tanzania, opening parts of our office there. And as things happen, of course, we were also blessed with family. And we now, as you said, have 3 young men, but at the time they were young boys. And I think Aaron was about 6, Daniel was about 5, and I think Timothy was still in the stomach. And, you know, that in itself causes issues around work-life balance, just wanting to be able to spend quality time with Schiffer, of course, but also seeing the boys as they grow up, go to football matches and all this sort of type thing that, you know, you do as well. But my work with PwC, although based in these individual countries, was actually a regional job. So I was often on a plane. And when I say often, it was probably virtually every week. I was either going to Nairobi or to Johannesburg or to Rwanda or to Ethiopia or to Sierra Leone or whatever. Anyway, as you can hear, I did a lot of traveling, and I think I was one of the Kenya Airways' most frequent flyers at one point, which is fine when initially you sort of think about it, but after a while you get really sick of just sitting on an aeroplane and wasting quality time, basically. So was generally sort of getting more and more dispirited with the idea of, you know, doing that sort of professional services thing long term. So we were looking for something else to do. Schiffer, as you mentioned, has got different skills to me. I am an accountant. I love getting a load of numbers and playing around with them, doing all sorts of things around that. But Schiffer is much more artistic. She's got skills in that design, in that sort of area. And when we moved back to Uganda, she basically looked. We bought a house, and she looked at it and sort of said, "Oh no, we can do this with that space. We can do that with that space," and all that sort of type stuff, which we did. And it sort of, if you like, awakened an awareness that, you know, she's got particular skills in that particular area. So in using those sort of 2 particular skill bases, it sort of said, well, actually, what could we do as an alternative? As we had observed when we moved around the different countries, was that the market for expat accommodation is, well, limited, let's put it like that. There's general shortage. In Nigeria, you used to have to pay for 12 months accommodation up front, which is, in fact, for some cases, it was 2 years, which is just sort of crazy. Tanzania, well, the places were fairly basic at the time. And even back here in Uganda, there's some areas of Kampala that were okay. Kololo had a few, apartments and stuff like that. But generally, we thought we spotted a market opportunity, basically. And so that sort of, in a way, sort of led us to sort of say, okay, let's get into doing some property development in our side of the town, which is Muyanga, basically. And that's what led us to start that sort of particular business. So I'm going to be quiet. That's giving you a little bit of background about us for now. Shifa's perhaps going to talk a little bit about sort of some of the challenges and things that we are have had to face, and some of the things that we've dealt with as we've gone along.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm.
So, did you want me to go to like question 2, or I could add a little bit to Mr. Mbazi here, because now he's got a Ugandan name. Did you hear that? Called an axe, apparently.
Always
He
had
didn't.
clever, Shifa.
He didn't
Please go
mention that. Husband of noble character. So, yeah, like Richard said, we had observed that there were opportunities and there were things missing, and we wanted that. I still remember moving to Tanzania. I think Aaron was probably 2 years and Daniel was months. And there was no washing machine in the apartment we were living in. And I was new in the country with 2 little babies under the age of 2. I had to wash clothes in the bathtub, and we thought, if we ever have the opportunity, we're going to do something that has everything. You just need to bring your bag and start, so that transitions are easier. One of the hardest thing is moving from place to place and starting from scratch when you don't know anyone. So I think that stayed at the back of my mind. And when we started looking at what was around Muyanga when we moved there, we didn't see much in terms of that. And yeah, so one thing led to another, like they say. And that's how we found ourselves there. Has it all been easy? I wouldn't say. No, it was hard work, a lot of hard work. Staffing is difficult. Workmanship is hard in terms of the plumbing. I'm sure Miriam, you and Jack have seen these things when you're building your house. It's really hard to find good electricians and plumbers and maintenance kind of work. And culturally, I don't think we maintain properties very well, but we wanted ours to be different. It's been there for over 12 years. It still looks like it was built maybe last year. We make sure we paint it. We make sure it's kept clean, basic, but anyone can arrive and just feel like you've come home. And that's why we've kept up repeat clients. The same people go and come back. So we haven't had to advertise too much, and we've stayed faithful with things like security deposit. So it's built a good reputation and a name in the community. So that was the easy part. If you ask me, how did we thrive, or have we ever faced any survival struggles? I certainly have, because I didn't go to school until I was 13. I was a refugee kid. The children you don't hear about, the ones who learn how to climb a moving tata, those big lorries those days, speeding down. I don't in the middle of game park somewhere heading towards Arua or Congo, God knows. So I feel like it was hard when families break down, when you move from place to place, you don't really have a secure base, or you don't have a stable, calm childhood. And then followed on when I was 17, I became a Christian and I was asked to leave home. So I know the feeling of being homeless. So I wonder sometimes if that's where my need to have a steady income and to be secure with money comes from, because I know it's easy to have and then to lose everything. And that was really quite difficult, because I stayed with friends, I moved places, and I learned that the little things are important. Like, I didn't realize the art would come in handy in future, but I did hair. I learned whatever people taught me. I just picked it up, worked in a saloon, did whatever I had to do to survive, and with dignity and with integrity. As a young person was not very easy. There were other options where you could just do whatever, but I wanted to keep my name. So I feel like that personally was quite hard. But in terms of what we've had to grow through is during growing this business of real estate. Not only did we build an apartment, but we started buying old houses and fixing them and selling. because people had money, but sometimes didn't even know what to do with, you know, the finishing and the things that go in. So there was a niche there. There was a little, someone would tell someone, and then before you know, you're helping with this or that. So that that led to using some of those giftings and ability. And it was also fun because you do it, you come away thinking, oh, that was really good. There's a process of creativity that just brings that joy of making things. And it worked with family life. You still come home, eat dinner with your children and read stories and put them to bed. So that kind of gave us a balance we were looking for, because you're traveling quite a lot and we wanted to change that. So I feel like with as a couple, we did that because of that, one. And then also we experienced things like, and we're still struggling with that because we still have 1 or 2 court cases that have not been resolved around land. I know there's a struggle around that. There's a lot of fake deals, or, you know, something is in your name and you have all the documents, but it's taken 8 years to resolve. Now, if we're done it without each other's knowledge, that could really cause a massive conflict, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we always believe in agreement. Can two walk together unless they're in agreement, which is based on Amos 3:3. We don't have any hidden, money anyway? Do you have any? No, Richard doesn't have any hidden.
That's a classic. That's a classic, Shiva. That's a classic. Richard, we need your answer, Richard. Do you,
What did you say
have
again?
money hidden?
Do you have any
somewhere,
hidden money? I
Richard?
don't know about.
Do you
I'm
have
asking. I don't
properties
know.
in Nigeria?
That's hidden, that 10 shillings. That's about well, I've got hidden.
No, thank you. Thank you so much, Shiva and Richard. That was absolutely amazing. I love the way they,
we're honest.
I love the
We're
way
honest
you
with
just,
money.
and the way you just helped us understand that for you, your investment journey was something that was well thought out. You know, you thought through it, you thought about what you wanted, why you wanted it, and what you wanted to get out of it. And it was more than just the money. You know, there were certain things that were important to you. So that's very good. So Kevin, let's move on to Kevin now. Kevin, just if you could tell us about yourself, how did you end up in this area of finance and investments? When I met you in Cape Town, you were working for Franklin Templeton. And I still remember being amazed when you told me Franklin Templeton manages reserves of central banks. I was like, what? What a job. So how did you end up there? I think you're still muted. Is he muted? Just hold on. Just a minute. Let's just make sure we can hear Kevin. Is he muted? Okay.
We can't hear you.
Let me just confirm.
Can the rest of you hear
Can
Kevin?
you hear him?
No.
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 Okay.
No.
Can we just try again? Okay. Okay. Maybe you can log out and log in.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll come back to Kevin. Let Kevin just sort that out as we continue with Shifa and Richard. I think one of the things that's come up in Uganda when you look at real estate, you see a lot of abandoned buildings, you know, a lot. You know, you drive on a street and someone had a good idea, but it didn't go anywhere. You see malls and there's lots of empty malls and things like that. What's with that, you know?
There isn't one simple answer on that one, Miriam, but I think there's a couple of things that are at play here. Number one is that we spoke about the need to understand the market. I feel that the market is overcapacitated with malls. There's only a limit to how many shops you can build in a particular area. And I think if everybody's got the same idea, then you're going to have empty malls and empty shops. Yeah. I think that's one element of it. I think another element, sadly, is that some of them have been built by people basically looking to hide money. Let's put it like that. Put it politely. They've come across some money somewhere. and they just need to do something with it. And so they've, without really thinking it through, sort of said, okay, well, I can, put up a shelf for this shop or whatever it is, just to use the money. And sadly, then they forget that, okay, you need to finish it, and you need to, make sure that you're going to get tenants. And, things like finishing can actually cost a significant amount of money. I mean, we were told when we were thinking about putting up our apartments that, you have to look at $1,000 a square meter, that sort of type. It was a benchmark figure that we were given. So we were able to actually build that into our financial models anyway, so that we knew, yes, we were going to have to spend this amount of money just on the shell, but then also to finish it, you've got to spend almost an equivalent amount again. So I think some people just overextend themselves up the front without really thinking about the overall project costs. And, this is something else that I perhaps urge people to make sure they do when they are actually contemplating an investment, is to make sure you've got sufficient funds to see it through to the end. There's no point in having an empty shell which nobody can rent. Because, as I say, there are a lot around, so people will go to the one where there is, where it is finished, where the windows are in place, where there's electricity in place, where the tiles are on the floor, all that sort of type good stuff that needs to be in place. So, yeah, get your financial plan in place, and that's an absolute key element. I think the other element, and I think it is something that you mentioned in the past, Miriam, is around uncertainty over costs. I mean, yes, building costs do increase. And, so therefore actually allowing also for a contingency in your plan as well, to allow for overruns, to allow for increasing costs, because some of these things do take a time to build. I think our apartments, basically from when we first broke ground to when we were our first tenant, was about a year. So over a period of 12 months, building prices can go up quite a bit. So again, allow a contingency, 10, 15, 20% or something would be my suggestion. And then at least you're covered, such that you will get to a stage whereby you can actually go out to market and start to get some money coming back in. So that's the other element that's in there. Sorry.
But also saying historically, we know, like particularly in the central, people have had Muzigo, where you build small and it just helps you to like live on it. We know culturally people do that. The thing is, when you think, if you're thinking small, that's a different kind of idea. You're adding like, a little bit on the other. You could be in Italy, just add another room and another side and another side. But when you want to do such a big project, you have to keep in mind that it's a totally different ballgame. There's nothing wrong with having something if you think you really want to do it, but think about how you're going to finish it. It's like start how you mean to finish, or have that at the back of the mind. But I think culturally, we sometimes want to work, and there's space for that. Work a bit, then make some money, then do a little bit, and then of course while you're doing that, remember the BOQ that you did 3, 4, 5 years ago. It's the money, everything has changed. There's inflation in the market, the prices have gone up. So you find people get stuck because they don't foresee, or it's like, we perish for lack of vision, if you like. We don't foresee that these prices are going to go up, then people get stuck. So there's doing small projects, and then there's doing big projects. You need a totally different mindset to balance it.
And in conjunction with the idea about having a good financial plan, I think it's very important that you actually have an idea, what's your specification going to be on your project? Finishing, exactly. Everybody would love to have porcelain tiles, but we also know that they cost, so many dollars per square meter, whereas, a normal tile costs less. So, if your funds are limited, try and live within your means, and do something that you can afford to finish. As I say, there's no point in having a half-finished room. Just be very, very keen about that one.
You also have to go there yourself. We spent time in Nakasero Market.
Oh yes, absolutely.
We had lunch there. We had dates in Nakasero Market. Can you imagine? I'm such a cheap wife, I tell you. Nakasero Market, we knew all the food there. You could get nice fish,
as you pick
Carlo would eat down there, Mogo, we knew where to find stuff because we looked ourselves.
Yeah.
Before you delegate to someone else who will do whatever they decide to do with your money, it's not their sweat. You really need you need to know what's downtown. You have to be in the know. Yeah, so I think those are things we learned along the way. And we laughed our way through Nakasero, but it was not always fun, let me tell you. But anyway, there you go.
That's good. So let's come to Kevin. As we come to Kevin, Richard and Shifa, there are already questions being posted in the chat. We'll come back to you and you can respond to those questions. You can look at them as we come to Kevin. Kevin, are you good now? You're still muted though. This time, yeah. Okay.
We can't hear you, Kevin. No, we can't hear you. Try it without the headphones and we'll see if that works.
Yeah, he's taken them off.
You've taken them?
He's taken them off.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know why we can't hear Kevin. Yeah. Yeah, we still have time on the call. We're going to go to respond to some of the questions in the chat as we just try to sort this out with Kevin. Richard, one of the questions in the chat is about funding of initial projects. Yeah, I think that's a question most people are curious about. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think it was something that I was actually going to just talk about in respect of the financial model as well, because you do need to have consideration for the financing for your investment. You need to build in obviously debt servicing, and clearly in a market where interest rates are 10, 12, 15%, that can be quite a cost burden as well. And what that means is that you need to be very sure that the rental income stream that you're going to get out of the project is actually going to cover at least that. I mean, if you yourself don't have any money to eat, well, that's your business. But the banks, if they don't get their money back, they're going to be basically taking the property off you. So you need to be very, very sure that you're going to be able to service any debt. To that end, we actually didn't take any debt when we built our apartment. We were in the we were in the fortunate position that we'd saved money while we'd been expatriates, basically, and so we were able to utilize those funds to basically to build the apartments to what was needed. So as I say, that actually took away a major headache for us. So yes, we were quite blessed in that regard, I suppose. But as I say, if you're not in such a position, then don't borrow right up to the hilt is my advice. It's because it really puts a strain on the business. Then if you know that you've got to pay your monthly interest back to the bank or whatever it is, and you haven't got a tenant that month. That's a real burden. I mean, where do you get the money from? And you don't want the bank repossession. With all due respect to any banker that's on here,
And alongside that as well, when we started to buy the old house and sell, it was definitely profitable. That was the time a lot of Sudanese were buying houses in Uganda. So it also helped us to then, you buy, you fix, you sell, you get some of the profit, you put it back in another project. So we were trying to make money, money makes money kind of idea. So that helped as well. Yeah.
I think that's interesting because you're able to sort of put it together slowly, and then be able to use that. So that's interesting. So Kevin, are you able to try again?
Could he log on using his phone maybe? Because it might be his laptop or computer or something. Yeah, might help.
Yeah, that's true. So I think there's another question in the chat, and then we will take we'll take a few more questions, and then we will come back to Kevin. Kevin, once you're ready to try again, it's okay to just interrupt us. When you're able to try again on the volume, we'll stop and then come to you. There was another question in the chat, Richard. I'm just trying to get to it. Let's see.
Profit margin. This is advice.
Yes. There's a question here. Someone is asking about investing in bonds versus building property for rental. I just want to say that on the program, we're not financial advisors. So Richard and Shifa and Kevin are just sharing their experiences. We're not giving any financial advice. If you want financial advice, you should be able to see an investment advisor. If you go to the Capital Markets Authority site, you'll be able to see licensed investment advisors in Uganda. But these are just personal views and perspectives from their experience. But a lot of people struggle with that. Like, should I be in, real estate, or should I be in this other area? What should I be considering? So I don't know if you have a view on that.
All this while we're not home. Where is Nicole?
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Is that?
Hello. Yeah. I think. Yeah. So. I heard your $1 million question just as we were logging on, Jack, and it made me smile because I thought, yeah, would we do it again? And the quick answer is yes. I do, however, believe that if you've got $1 million, you should be looking at getting a portfolio just to A, spread risk, but B, not be completely tied into one particular sector of the market. As you yourself have mentioned, the market for properties has probably tightened over the last decade. And so it is probably a harder market today than it was a decade ago. That's not to say I wouldn't do it again and I wouldn't make property investments. At the end of the day, there is only a limited amount of land. So, if you've got a portfolio which includes some land, again, I'm not financial advisory, but, it's, for me, the value is only going to go one way unless the government suddenly changes and takes back every piece of land to be national property or something like that. So I would be sort of saying, in respect to the $1 million question, have property in your portfolio, but don't make it your only investment. And I think a mixture of bonds, which give a fairly fixed guaranteed return, but then also some other more speculative investments. It depends upon your state of life as well. If you're looking to retire in the next 2 years, you don't want speculation which might wipe out that particular portion of your portfolio, or at least reduce the value of it. But if you've got 20, 25, 30 years or something, then yes, have some higher risk some higher risk elements of your portfolio in there as well, because normally the higher risk obviously also, it has a negative downside, but it also has a higher upside as well. So, you want to get a mixture of things that provide a steady state, but then also some potential for froth on the top.
Okay. I just want to confirm that Jack and I are still on because I don't see us on.
I don't know. Where did you guys go again?
Can you hear us though?
Yeah.
You can hear us. Okay. So we're going to try something out with Kevin. Kevin, can you hear me? Kevin, can you hear us? Let's see. Okay.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Oh yeah. Oh, good, good. Finally.
From South Africa. It's inevitable, I guess.
True.
Load shedding. We've got it over load shedding now. We just can't work, speakers.
Yeah. So I'm very glad that we're able to talk. Now that you're on, our computer has gone off. So
well, one of the lessons I get, you can't have it all, right? You speak about choices. We have to make choices. Decide on what's most important.
Exactly. But Kevin, just go ahead to just tell us more about yourself, how you got into this area of finance and investments.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. You spoke about me having been in the industry for more than 30 years, but that's only because I started when I was 5 years old, right? Not for no other reason. So interestingly, growing up, I grew up in a fairly sort of a township community. People, colored, what typically called a colored community in Cape Town, and there weren't many people in our community who were involved in finance whatsoever. Lots of blue collar workers in construction, or like you were talking about, those electricians and plumbers that you look for when you're busy building. So lots of people from that sort of background. But my own parents were not great with money. They had very little, but I think they also made several poor choices. I think to their credit, I think they tried to give their children the best of what they could, even at times though they couldn't afford it. And I think in my teen years, I got to understand that a bit better and realized that I suppose one of the early lessons in life when it comes to money is that, as I think Richard and Chief have already alluded to, is that it's no good wanting it all if you can't just manage a little bit. And so I learned, I guess, the benefit of managing wants and desires, so that one spares focuses on what's essential, and tries to make do with that in order to, I guess, keep enough over for a rainy day, for those sudden, I suppose, emergency expenses one might need, or to save. And I think that that sparked my interest in finance and money. And I then went to go work at Old Mutual. I think many of you are probably familiar with Old Mutual in Cape Town, South Africa, where I worked on the actuarial side for a bit. I was also grew up it was an interesting time. So this was the mid 80s, right? In the heart of the old apartheid days. And there weren't always avenues or professional services available to people of color. So fortunately, Old Mutual had a program that was encouraging this to start happening. And I went to go and work with some fairly good mentors, I think. I think that's also a lesson to try and surround oneself with people who can be advisors. I know you said we can't offer advice, but people who can be advisors, people who can who are mature, responsible, who think long term. I guess, I've got 3 kids, right? So, and they're not really kids anymore because my daughter, 26, got married a couple of months ago. And then I've got a 22-year-old son and a 19-year-old daughter as well, the youngest one. But so I think that they're in the current generation, I guess, where the immediacy of things, the availability of, if you want to watch something, you just go and download it, and you binge watch it. If you want to order, if you want to go and shop, for those porcelain tiles, you don't have to go from shop to shop anymore. You just go online, and you pick whatever you might want. So I think unfortunately, we try and make sure that they don't get too stuck into the instant gratification, the immediacy of things, and they're able to sacrifice. I think that's something that we take from, I guess, those of us who have a faith life. That sacrifice is beneficial in the long run, and that sometimes it's better to, much as though it might pain us in the short run, to hold back on having something or buying something that's going to give us pleasure. It doesn't help if it's going to mean going to debt or not having money available when you really do need it at the subsequent stage. And so I always say to my kids, before you actually start thinking about saving, first start thinking about how you're going to manage your expenses. And there's no good being in debt and trying to save at the same time. Yes, debt can be useful sometimes for large items where, if you're building, you spoke about properties and buying real estate and that sort of thing. Then one obviously, and those are assets that grow in value. So it's useful then to obviously access debt in order to acquire those things. But to try and make do with the little bit one has, and make things go further than they might otherwise. And I liked what I think you spoke quite a bit about in the opening video, Jack and Miriam. And by the way, when Jack spoke about Miriam and introduced Miriam so lovingly, I was thinking, shouldn't it be M and J, Musali, rather than the J and M? I'll leave that there. You guys can discuss that. But I think you spoke a lot about the way to start a journey is to take charge of what's immediately around you, to make the simple choices. I think from my own experience, the times I've gotten into trouble have been when we use an expression down here where your eyes are bigger than your head. You're basically you're looking at you have such a desire for something that you can't really afford. My second car was like that. I knew I shouldn't have sold my first car when I did because I still owed money on it. But hey, there was this Opel Kadett that was looking flash and new, and I increased the debts at a bad time as well. Interest rates were going up. And that was a lesson. That was a lesson for me. I regretted it for the next 3 years, until obviously, salary increases and that sort of thing catches up and helps one out. But I guess that I talk to my kids about that story as a reminder to them that it's easy. No matter how disciplined one might think one is, it can be so easy to get caught up in acquiring things that are gratifying, and that perhaps help. Hey, when you in your early 20s, you want to be popular as well, so it's easy to fall into that trap. But anyway, I find myself in a career in finance, and eventually into an asset management firm, and then also, I guess, found that I really love working with people. So I moved into this business development role and working with clients and really trying to understand what clients are. Risk tolerances, they have different return objectives, they have different definitions of risk. Some people worry about losing capital, other people worry about not being able to keep up with inflation. Or volatility, and so when particularly equity markets, when investments go up and down, so it's really it's really important to I suppose understand what one's goals and objectives are.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Kevin. That was very interesting. Angelina wants you to talk about the eyes being bigger than the head. She's still at that point, she's still like, Kevin, what's that? Are my eyes really bigger than my head? But I think that's a very good way of putting it, because a lot of people are trying to live a life that they can't afford. I remember sometime I was doing a training on personal finances, and this girl walks up to me. It was at a bank. And she said to me, "Thank you so much for the training. This morning, because I work in the bank, I had filled out a loan request to buy a new car." And she said, "Every time I see people driving their cars are so big."
Miriam, are you hungry? Hello? Are we all hungry? Sorry. Can you hear them?
No, I think we lost
Oh, we
Miriam
lost
and Juliet
them.
and Jack and Jack.
Well, yeah. While Jack, are you coming back on? Well, while they're coming back on, are you back? You with? Oh, good. Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, where did I stop? As I was telling you the story of the girl in the bank.
Big car. Someone had
Big
just
car,
driven
yeah. She wanted a big car. And she said, I filled out the loan and I was going to take the loan. And she said, I won't take it anymore. I said, but why do you need a big car? She said, because people on the road, they drive these big cars and I just wanted a big car. And I was shocked. I said, you have a car? She said, yeah. I said, it has no issues. No. But she was just trying to get something bigger, something better, you know?
It's
yeah.
something that trips us all up
Yeah.
when your eyes are seeing things that you can't afford right now.
Yeah.
Or your friends are getting things
Yes.
which you also would like to be part of that group.
Yes.
Or you have this thing, like in my case, a particular dream that you keep kind of wanting to go after, and then you feel like, now I deserve it.
Yes.
I deserve it. I have struggled enough. Now I deserve it. I like the way Kevin put it, that you need to first manage your expenses.
Yes.
So that then you can be able to save.
Yes.
And after that, you use what you've saved to invest.
Yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised to hear Shifa and Richard's story that they didn't go to borrow. Because they've been putting away this money over several years.
Yeah.
And now, so someone will look at what they've done and say, I'm also going to do what they've done. I'm also going to put up this big building like they did. But are you willing to go and do what they
sacrifice.
did for
The
to
sacrifice.
come and be able to do that?
Yes.
So
yeah, and you know,
I think there's a lesson in that.
Kevin also touched on that in an interesting way. He talked about the fact that because for us, we are people of faith, we understand sacrifice. I thought that was interesting, you know, that there's a sacrifice and, you know, you don't just go for something without thinking about the sacrifice. So I like the fact that he was also looking at his values, yeah, and where he's coming from. Yes.
Faith should inform how you
invest and how you use your money.
Not get caught up in because everything around us is so immediately accessible.
Yes.
Just because you can get it doesn't mean you should.
Exactly.
Just because you can go and fill out a loan application and get a new big car doesn't mean you should.
Yeah. So we have some questions from someone in the UK who's just curious about investments in the UK. They've had us talking a little bit about Uganda, and they're just saying, okay, so what's out here for us in the UK? What would we be looking at? Feel free, Richard and Kevin, if you have any views on this. Again, they are not your financial advisors. They're just giving you ideas. You're muted, Richard, you're muted, and then we'll come to Kevin.
Okay. Well, I mean, it is a different market in the UK for a couple of reasons. The capital markets themselves are much more diverse. There's such a range of equities and other instruments that you can invest in just about anything you particularly fancy. Whereas obviously, as we know, Uganda is the USE. Well, is it about a dozen securities listed on it these days? So, you know, the opportunities in Uganda are that much more restricted. So having a portfolio around, again, I come back to the portfolio idea, is much easier in the UK. In respect of returns, however, in respect of property in particular, the returns are lower. And you know, one of the elements of what are people giving a return for, and it's a reflection of the risk that you face. And so, you know, an investor in an asset in Uganda would probably want a higher return than an investor in the equivalent asset in the UK, just because of certain risk factors that we don't particularly know about, you know, land, for instance, is the tax regime going to change all of a sudden overnight? All of those particular elements which add to a risk of a project which probably don't exist to the same extent in Uganda mean that the returns that you'd want from the equivalent one in Uganda is higher than the same asset in the UK. So, you know, as part of a portfolio of assets, you know, it makes sense if you can to have a mixture of both if you can. If you're just looking at property, yes, have some in Uganda, have some in UK. And when I talk about the froth, Uganda might give you the froth, and UK give you the base, and take it like that. But you know, you have to. It is a personal decision that you are taking. So you know, there is no one right answer for everybody here, and it just comes down to it. The other element, sorry, I'd just like to just add in there also. Kevin also mentioned. Property is probably a long-term asset. Really.
Yeah, it is.
So you know, you're not looking to get your return in 1 year necessarily. You hope that you will get a stream of income over the years, but you know, in order to completely get your money back, it's going to take a number of years. One thing to just be thinking about is what are your long-term goals in respect of where do you need income? If you're going to retire to the UK, it makes sense to have the majority perhaps of your portfolio UK based because it's generating pounds. Whereas if you're going to retire to Uganda, then having a load of Uganda shillings investments is perfectly suitable for what you want. So again, you know, just thinking about those personal considerations, just another element that you need to throw into the mix when you're trying to design your portfolio as a whole.
Yeah. Alongside that, we know that at the moment in the UK, it's really hard for young people to get on the property ladder. That's one of the main things. It's really hard to buy because people are not earning enough. It's just what it is. So the way we think is that houses are to be lived in, at least I do anyway, isn't it? I'm not tied to anything. I think it comes from the refugee mentality. I'm not tied to stuff. The way I look at it is at some point when these children have finished uni and moved out, I don't need a 4-bedroom house. I would rather sell the big house, buy myself something which I can lock up, go to Cape Town if I hint. That's why we got engaged. You know, Kevin, we might just call hint. Yeah, because we have the thing that we're investing money. When we retire, we have time, we'll go do this, do that. But it's not guaranteed. I would rather we are able to spend time with each other, do the things we want to do while we can. I've met 1 or 2 people as a therapist now who had all these plans when they finished, they've so paid for the house, then they'll do this. You know how we plan way too ahead. We don't live in the present. And then something happened. You get ill, or a friend of mine, the husband went for a bike ride just outside their home and he was killed. And she told me not long ago, Shifa, please do all the things you want to do with the people you love. Don't wait until you're so rich, you have everything, then you'll go and do this. So I'd rather that we have these little flats. You can tell this child, this is yours, go and do you, and we are going to go and do, you know, our thing. So I think it's good to have that mentality, not to get, the house becomes like a small god. You're not, it's not serving your purposes. So what is it for? Is it a show off? Do you need it? So this is the way I look at property, that's there to serve you, not your master. But that's just a point of view.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. So as we come to Kevin, Kevin, I will give your number to Shifa so that she starts looking for property in Cape Town. Yeah, right after this. That's my reward to her for giving back to society.
That'll be great. That'll be great. You're welcome to. And yeah, I mean, I concur 100%, you know, that it can be so easy for one's home to be a prison, you know, because of the debt or other obligation. Maintenance, oh my goodness, man. Maintenance is so, you know, can be so costly. And so my 26-year-old daughter that I spoke about earlier, she and her husband now, they decided to rent. You know, because they felt like in the earlier years, they didn't want to be sort of bogged down or locked to a particular property and have debt against that and be feeling encumbered. And so that seems to, you know, work for them. But yeah, I think that, you know, around sort of the route to investing, I mean, we spoke about, you know, first manage expenses, you live within your means, and then if you have money available, invest it. And I'm reminded of when I was at Old Mutual, one of the advertising slogans was, it's almost, it's not as simplistic as this, but it went along the lines of, it doesn't matter what you invest in, but that you start investing. So, get started, because there's that saying, time is money. And the sooner you start, the sooner you get the benefits of compounding, right? Where you get returns on your capital and your returns that you earn in earlier years. And that becomes exponential, where 1 + 1 is not 2 anymore, but it increases at a faster rate. So once you're able to, and you've managed your expenses and you feel comfortable that you have money available to invest it. And ideally try and invest in assets that are growing faster than inflation, because obviously, you don't want to put your money into something where ultimately the cost of the things that you want to acquire with it are rising at a faster rate than what you actually are earning on your investments. And as Richard was saying, it works differently in different countries, where different asset classes, whether they be, fixed income assets in one country might deliver a better risk-adjusted return than the equity market, or the other way around. And again, I can't offer advice. But I'll just offer considerations, I think. So get started when you're able to. Find, and I think she was quite right, and Richard, to talk about try and have a diverse pool of assets, whether it be a mutual fund maybe that has equities, fixed income, and property inside of it, or something similar to that. Then at least you spread your risks across the different types of assets, because they tend not to all go in the same direction at the same time, and so you end up having a little less volatility or less fluctuation in the value investments. And then the importance of investing what you truly can afford to is that you then better able to invest for the long run, for the long term, and not be forced to go and cash in on your investments before you really want to, because then you need, in order to earn the benefit of compounding, basically getting money on your money, is staying in it for the long term. And they're different kind of, I suppose, the graphics. I can maybe share some of those with Miriam afterwards if she wants to share it with you subsequently. Just showing what the difference in earning a rate of, say, 7% versus a rate of 10% does, over a 20-year period. It can have the effect of doubling your capital. And so it is important to think about that and stay in it for the long run.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Shifa. Thank you, Richard. We want to give you a chance to interact with Richard and Shifa and Kevin. And to do that, one of the things that I would like for us to do is to get a sense of where every one of us is. So I'm going to put up a poll, and you will see this come up on your screen. It's a Zoom poll, and we're going to be looking at the question, where are you on your wealth building journey? Where are you on your wealth building journey? And you'll see the options that are there for you to select. And then you can, we'll be able to just come back into the conversation. So there should be a poll popping up on your screen right now. And the question is, where are you on your wealth building journey? Where are you on your wealth building journey? Okay, this will be great for Kevin and Richard and Shifa to see where all the people that are on the call are in the different places that we are in our wealth building journey. Like, we are all at different places, and sometimes what works at one stage doesn't necessarily work at another one. And as we as we do the poll. When we come back, we will be able to get some more questions for Richard and Shifa and also for Kevin. So everybody's going to the poll right now. Yes, we want every single one of you to go and respond. There's only about 28 people that have gone. Yeah, go ahead and respond to this poll. It will be a pop-up on your screen. Where are you on your wealth building journey? Where are you on your wealth building journey? Where are you on your wealth building journey, Miriam?
Just so they know, I can see the ones who are not responding.
Oh, you can see. Okay, Miriam's seen you. If you've not responded, please go ahead. Don't worry, the poll is anonymous. We'll not be able to tell what response it is that you've given. So just go ahead and so you can't see the poll. Some of you can't see it.
I think it dropped off very quickly, Jack.
Yeah, please post it again.
Oh, okay.
Okay, all right. Let's I beg your pardon. Sorry. Can you see it now?
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, excellent. Great. Good.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
But
Sorry, I
it's
didn't
quickly
realize
going
it
up.
wasn't working.
Yeah. Yeah. This is interesting. As we launch as we go through the poll, before we discuss the poll results, I'd like Richard and Shifa, as well as Kevin, to just think about telling us how the investors couples, what are some of the challenges? As we go through the poll, could you take a breather?
I can't wait to hear the answer. I've seen the answer. Now I can't wait to hear it. And I think the other thing that I would like to have them comment on is how do you protect your investments, because there's a lot of shutterlands, there's a lot of schemas, there's a lot of, and then you save your little money and then you put it somewhere and you discover it's a scam and you can't get your money back. So how do we protect our investments? I don't know, someone's, I don't know if there's anyone that would speak into things like insurance. So I don't know what other options there are for how we can protect our investment. We're going to close the poll very soon right now. So if you're going to the poll, you have just another 10 seconds, and in 10 seconds, I'll close it. I know when I say I'm going to close it, everyone who hasn't gone is going to go there. So just go there anyway. In 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay.
Okay, so could you share the results? Yeah.
All right. Can you see the results? Can you see the results? Yeah. You can see? Okay, all right, great. So we have about 15% of the people are in the place where they have invested in shares and bonds and other financial instruments. And we have about 9% that are investing in real estate. The bulk of us are in the place where we're working on planning for our money, just to make sure we get started with saving. We have a few of us that are in that place where you're still going hand to mouth and you can't afford to save and invest yet. Yesterday we said, if you find yourself in that place, that's not a place to stay, but there are things that you can do to get out of that place so that you move away from a place like that. And then there's just about 22 who are saying, I now manage my money well, and I'm starting to look for ways to save and invest strategically.
That's good.
Okay, great.
That's very good. So
this gives you, Kevin, Richard, and Shifa a sense of who's on the call and where the different people are, and so that you can now point your responses to where these different groups of people are. I'd like to now hear the response to the question. I saw the answer, but I'd now like to hear the response to the question of how you are investing as a couple. Kevin, you're going to have the privilege of answering alone. We won't get to see. We want to get to hear the other side of the story.
We're going to share this.
We'll share this video. Okay, why don't you go first, Kevin?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So I think that it's quite interesting, that question, because I would say that Mary's more conservative than I am. So Mary's got no interest in financial markets. So for her, what gives her satisfaction is knowing that there's steady growth in her investments. So she would rather invest into predominantly interest-bearing assets. And so I kind of help her find mutual funds or unit trust funds that would meet her return expectation, but also manage the volatility. She couldn't care if something's generating a return of 20% 1 year, but it's down 5% the next year. That's painful for her. She would rather have something that's going to hit 8, 9, or 10%, per annum solidly. So for me, I obviously, would use the full spectrum and be prepared to allocate more money to a fairly balanced portfolio, but probably more invested in growth assets like shares and property, and less in interest-bearing assets. As I'm getting older, as I'm moving towards retirement, so I'm 56 years old now. I've got like 4 or 5 years left before I step down. And my thinking is to start moderating my portfolio a little bit. By that I mean reducing equity exposure a little bit, but not so much, because even post-retirement, growth assets still give me the best opportunity to beat inflation. It's just that when I am retired, I might not be able to withstand the volatility as much as I can now, while I'm working. And so Mary and I do manage our money separately. We actually got into that right from. So we actually part of the before we got married, we went on this course together, this marriage preparation course, and they forced us to talk about everything under the sun. Priorities in terms of, family, each other, friends, that covered, issues around sex, that covered issues around money, different priorities in terms of where, God's. So anyway, but the money aspect became something that we wanted to address head on. And given that, she's a teacher, I had a role in finance. So basically, we came to the view that that we should each be in a similar position after we paid our expenses. So basically, because I was earning the higher salary, I would cover most of the expenses, and she would cover certain expenses that would leave her in a similar net position. And in that way, we could each still go out and buy whatever we wanted to without having to have too much consultation. It was an easy way to avoid that kind of that very, very difficult compromise that can take place. So we avoided fights basically as much as we could. That was a nice way of managing that. But but it's still important to be talking to one another about our finances, so that we, neither of us get into trouble that we're not telling the other one about. So, because that can happen as well. So anyway, so we got to that point, and then from that, when it came to investing as well, we realized that we each have different risk tolerances, and therefore we need to think differently about how we invest. What pleases the one might not please the other.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kevin.
Yeah.
I like that recognizing that we're different.
Yes.
And the differences
Yeah.
shouldn't divide us. We should find a way to work them out so that we stay in a place of agreement.
Yes, yes.
And recognizing that there are things that I have that are different preferences and you have different preferences. And it's okay to accommodate the differences, but still stay together.
That's good. That's very good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Richard and Chief.
So it's great to hear Kevin's experience about premarital counselling and whatever, because this is something that we wanted to also emphasize to people this evening. The importance of having an agreement with your spouse as to how you're going to manage finances premarital time is absolutely fundamental to success or failure, I think, of a marriage. We went the other way from Kevin, and sorry, did you say Miriam was your wife? No, Mary? Anyway,
Mary.
Marie, and we actually sort of said, no, we're just going to have a joint account. So we have a joint bank account and all of our funds go into there. And we both have bank cards which charge that account and take it from there. I think between us, we haven't got a specific agreement as to, anything under X amount of pounds or shillings we will spend on our own without consulting the other. But I think we have a sort of a tacit agreement that, obviously, if we're going to be buying air tickets or going on a foreign holiday or whatever it is, that, we will do that in conjunction with the other in recognition of, the amount that's going to cost. But, if for the weekly shopping or whatever it is, well, we don't consult each other and sort of say, look, the bill this week is £120. Shall we do it or not? Or, we've got to pay the water bill this week. Shall we spend that? One of us will do that and just go ahead and do that. But again, I think it comes down to trust as well. I mean, honestly, I probably manage the finances on a day-to-day basis. But equally, as I say, Shifa's spending access and she can see how much is in the bank account as well. So it's full disclosure on that as well. So, no surprises in that regard. Yeah, and it's just a different approach, but
it is, yeah. But of course, there's a consideration that we always knew we were different. I have a whole village in Arua from this end to the other one. Richard has got one sister. I'm just being honest, and so having had we had a lot of marital counseling. We were very fortunate. We had people talk to about finance. Someone asked us 100 questions people in love don't ask, and we had to flip the answers. So I feel like preparation helped us. We knew we were different. If we struggled, we agreed we would get help. We still read a lot of marital books together. We do the Hold Me Tight, which is emotional focus therapy online for any couple. You can actually help look through your what you're struggling with in terms of issues, because as you grow as couples, we evolve. We're not the same people we were 20 years ago, all gooey-eyed. Now we are more grown up. We want different things sometimes. So we're constantly checking where we are with each other. So there's self-awareness. Conflict means you're still yourself. You're able to have a voice in the relationship. Don't get me started on that because I'm a therapist. I might go there, but I won't go there. Let's leave it. So we knew that I had more people, and Richard married me knowing that I had children. I was looking after people, you've been to our house, Jack and Miriam, there were lots of children with fathers who had passed away, who brought them through to university. And then when my father was really sick, I needed to make an agreement with Richard to borrow money from us, repair his place, do things there, then get the money back without interest. So there's been that respect of culture differences and accommodating the needs, because we didn't want to borrow from the bank, and Richard doesn't want me to be in debt either. So there has to be that flexibility of what the need is. And going back to what you said earlier, Miriam, that really struck me. I remember someone told me, Mchala Mzungu, why are you on a border? I remember those days when we first got married. Someone just laughed at me because you're married to a white person and you're on a border and you don't have a car. I was like, no, I am not buying a car until we have a house. So Richard is really a risk avoidant person. If you were, I am the one who says, let's do it. What's the worst that can happen? If you put the eggs all in a row, look at what works, what doesn't work, we will live somehow. So why am I saying this? That there's always been space for differences, space for conflict, and to sit down and talk about it. We're not abusive. I don't think we've ever stood across the room, threw a plate and called each other names. We don't do that. We might sleep on it. Think a bit before you speak. You know, I say slow to speak, slow to anger, and quick to listen. It's like there has to be space for differences. Otherwise, I'll pretend to be somebody else. And you didn't marry somebody else. You want the same person, kind of. And we're not the same people. And we don't pick on each other. I think that's the most important thing, because we'll do things differently. If I had my way, every Christmas I'd have 25 people. Richard would have maybe 6 people. So, you know, there's a difference. We really continue to grow and give each other space to be real and grow with each other.
Wonderful.
So, but trust has been really important, and we pray together. And like I've been to Gwanju, what do they call it? Preparation for marriages back home, and people are telling you, "Hey, sente zo zikweke tolaga mwami." Literally, hide your money, don't tell the husband. And I actually think this is bad advice. Before the person has got married, you're already telling them to hide their stuff. You're not preparing them to actually live together in harmony. There's already a secret, which doesn't help. So we don't really have secrets. Richard knows my password on the phone. I know his. I don't even know how. If I did that, I would be found out in 5 minutes because I might forget to say. So it's just about being real and open and accepting of the differences. Because even people from the same village are not the same. Every family has been brought up differently. So we bring ourselves on whatever's happened to us. So I just thought I'd put that out there.
Thank you. Wow, this has been amazing.
This
has been absolutely amazing. I want us to say thank you to Richard and Shifa Wood, and let us say a big thank you to Kevin Dantu. This has been so good and so amazing, and it has left me in such a generous mood. So Jack and I ran a finance masterclass, and we developed this material during, I think it was during COVID. And we put together a group of women who went through this material, and we kept developing it, refining it to help people manage their personal finances. So if you're on this call, I am requesting Shiba to put her number and her email in the chat. Send Shiba an email and you'll get full access to that course and to all that material, and go and use it, watch the videos, answer the questions, and we are sure it will help all of you. So that's a gift from Jack and I. Yes, they should do it for 30 days.
30 days. At the end of December, it goes away. So.
You can tell who the businessman is in the relationship. I'm like, just take it, enjoy, watch it whenever.
At the end of December, it goes away. So you better use it while it lasts.
Yeah, so just get Shiba's email. She's posting it in the chat. So thank you so much, Kevin, and thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Kevin and Richard and Shifa. Thank you, guys. Kevin, if you had to get Kevin for an hour and a half, or if you had to get Richard and Shifa for an hour and a half,
it would be the $1 million question.
It would be the $1 million question. So we're doing this challenge free. This is our way of saying to all of you that there is still hope.
Yeah.
We are giving this away free because we are saying there's still hope. You may be stuck, you may be struggling, you may be looking for a solution. There's still hope. You can make decisions that will get you out of a stuck place and take you to a place where you can begin to dream again, plan again, set goals, and start to take small but decisive actions that will leave you in a different place. Kevin and Shifa and Richard and the rest of our friends are giving their time also free of charge because they believe in what we are doing. Today, I asked you to draw a line in the sand, and as we close, I'm asking you again, same 3 questions I asked you at the beginning. This is a challenge for a reason. We're going to push you to do what's uncomfortable. I'm asking you to draw a line in the sand and make a decision. On one side of that line is you remaining where you are, and everything will stay the way it is. On the other side is the life that you could have. What are you going to do? What are you choosing as we come to an end today of this session? What are you choosing? My second question for you at the beginning is, what are you doing? You've got to take some action. You've listened to Richard and Shifa's story. You've listened to Kevin. This is not just for talking and talking. What are you doing? And the third question is perhaps the most important question for me. Who are you becoming? Who are you becoming? So we're leaving you with this challenge. Shiba, help me type these 2 questions in the chat. The first question is, what are you choosing? The second question is, what are you doing? And the final question is, who are you becoming? Ladies and gentlemen, this wraps up day 2 of the Surviving to Thriving Challenge.
Oh, God.
Kevin, Dantu, we appreciate you all the way from Cape Town. Richard and Shifa, all the way from the UK. Thank you so very much.
Thanks for your time.
Everybody that's on the call,
Bye-bye.
have a wonderful rest of your evening. Bye-bye.
Come back tomorrow. It's going to be great. It's going to be fun. All right. Bye-bye. Thank you. Good to see you. All right. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you, people.
Bye. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Julia.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Have a good night.